always great catching up with my next guest. Steve Erceg is going to be back in action in the co-main event of UFC 305. Going to be taking on Kape of France. Steve, how's it going right now? Live from the gym.
Yeah, it's going well. Just finished the session, so plenty sweaty, plenty tired, but yeah, not long now.
Yeah, and in a big fight, like I mentioned, just tell me how excited you were not only to be fighting France, who's obviously a big name in the weight class, but also being the co-main event. That's a pretty awesome thing to come off from that title fight.
Yeah, I mean, I've wanted to fight in Perth, obviously my whole life in the UFC, but especially after the last Perth event with Volkanovski and Jack Della and all that sort of stuff, just hearing the atmosphere and to fight Kai, kind of weird. It's a guy that I've looked up to for a long time. Like he was at the top of the Anzac scene when I was still an amateur and that sort of thing. So it's going to be surreal going in there and actually facing him. And then, yeah, being co-main event, it's kind of weird. I've gone 4 fights in the UFC. I've gone from early prelims to main event, and high up in the card. So I'm very blessed.
You talked about kind of looking up to France as an opponent, and obviously he's been a mainstay in the UFC for a while. Give us a sense kind of how big this fight is for the Australian MMA fans, because also I imagine there's probably some fans too that don't want to see you guys fight each other, right? I'm sure there's part of that too.
Yeah, for sure. I think most people would prefer, from this area of the world, would prefer that we sort of stayed apart and then they can sort of cheer us both on. But we both want to be the best, and we're in the same division and we're both near the top. So we're going to find out who the better fighter is. And no hard feelings, but I just think it's me.
Yeah, it's all business, as they say. Now, I know you mentioned wanting to fight in Australia, obviously, but was this sort of ideal timing for you to get back in there? Or did you want some more time off, or did you want to get in there sooner? Like, what's sort of your schedule as far as like, coming off that title fight?
Yeah, no, I felt like I wanted to get back to the gym immediately after. And I like the fact that I'm getting fights for a long time outside of the UFC.
Yeah.
I was really struggling. The people ask me why I'm only fighting once or twice a year max. It's like, well, I had a lot of pullouts. I had a lot of people say no. I had events completely closed, and it's just good to get some consistency. I can see the progress I've been making in my skill set because of the extra pressure of competition, and obviously the competitions, they highlight all the things that you're doing right way more. All the things that you're doing wrong. Way more than just like doing it in training. So you're fighting a guy that's very skillful, and any mistake you make, they're going to capitalize on. So lots of growth because of it.
And let's talk quickly about that last fight against Pantoja. It's very rare to lose a fight, and I think your stock going up or gaining more fans. Like, it seemed like a lot of people really were impressed with what you put out there against arguably the best flyweight in the world. What did you learn the most from that fight, and what were some of your big takeaways?
I think I learned most that I am at the level. Like, obviously, you can convince yourself that you are for a long time, but yeah, to go in there against the number one guy in the world and put up a close fight, it just, I guess, validating. Obviously, I did some things that didn't go well for me. Like, obviously, the last takedown didn't end up going well. I thought I'd be able to defend the takedown better, but he got, I think it was 9 of 18 or 8 of 16 or something like that. So getting taken down way too often, and all of them were really off upper body techniques. So trying to clean that up and work more on the upper body takedown aspect rather than just off the legs, I think is really important. And I'm going to come back better and stronger and work my way to the title again.
I think a lot of people expected whoever won your fight was going to fight the winner of this Muhammad Mokaev and Manel Kape fight. Obviously, that's pretty big news right now with Muhammad Mokaev getting released. Just first and foremost, before we talk about the fight, how surprised were you that the UFC decided to not re-sign Mokaev after that win over Manel Kape?
Yeah, I was very surprised, but I think it's like a cool little precedent to set. You can't go around not only starting fights and jumping other fighters. Like, if he did it 1-to-1, like face to face, it's like one thing. Like, you probably shouldn't do it before a fight anyway, jeopardize the fight, but more understandable. But like getting a photo and then sucker punching him and getting your team in, and that's like unacceptable. It's coward mentality, I think. And then the way he treats people, I don't know if fans get to see it, but I don't know, it just seems like he's a little entitled and thinks he's very important, which I don't particularly like, and obviously the UFC didn't like. So hopefully he grows from here and learns a lesson.
Is that stuff that you've seen or just stuff you've heard about how he treats people? Is that something that's sort of like common knowledge amongst the fighters in your division?
I don't know if it's common knowledge. I saw it when I fought on the same card as him, just the way he was treating the nutrition team and that sort of thing from the UFC. And just like little things that's like disrespectful that, yeah, I thought was odd, but he's a young kid. Hopefully he'll learn from this moment, I guess.
What did you think of the fight itself between him and Kape? Obviously there was the shorts pull, and there's a few other things that happened in that fight. But I'm sure you've seen the fight. What did you make of Mokaev's win in that?
I thought it was super disappointing in the fact that they had to be separated all week and in the cage, and then when they fought, it was a lot of fainting and there was not that much actual fighting. That was disappointing. I thought Mokaev's kicks looked good. Obviously his wrestling looked pretty good. Kape's wrestling defense looked amazing. Just not what I expected from the fight.
Yeah, understandable for sure. Let's talk about France. You mentioned it there. Obviously been a staple in the weight class. Stylistically, how are you looking at this fight with your skill set against Kai's in this one?
I think he's a very good striker. I just think that the way I strike and then mix it up is going to be too much, honestly. He hits very hard. I have to watch out for that. And he sets it up well. There's little tricks he does to get to the right hand, but I'm going to be doing everything I can to make sure that he can't get within range. And if he does, I have more than just punches and kicks that he has to worry about. I got takedowns, I got jiu-jitsu, I got knees, elbows, I got a lot of different things that he'll have to respect.
Anything different for this camp, or is it just business as usual? I mean, you've been having a lot of success in the cage. I imagine you don't want to change too much. Like, who are some of the main training partners you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really change too much. Like, I've added a little bit more Greco-Roman wrestling. So for those of you that don't know, freestyle wrestling is like one of the biggest international styles of wrestling, where you see the double legs, the single legs, that sort of thing. Whereas the Greco-Roman is all upper body, so you can't actually touch the legs at all. There's no like tripping, there's no grabbing with your hands, there's none of that. It's all upper body work, and considering that's how I basically lost the last fight, in my opinion, that's what I'm working on a lot. And then as far as training partners, I've had great training partners for a long time down at Scrappy, at Wilkes. And then I just sort of got lucky and was able to get Cody Haddon down to do some sparring, who's on the Contender Series very close after my fight, I believe. So it's been a hard camp, but it's been very good.
And just to give someone who lives in North America, actually live in Canada, give me some sort of idea, like how far away is the actual like arena from where you live? Like how close is this fight for you?
I guess it'd be like 20-minute drive.
That's
25.
I mean that's like a lot of fighters in Vegas, right? If they fight at the Apex, it's like just down the road. So this has got to feel good having a home game, so to speak, right?
It's gonna be nice waking up in my own bed fight morning and having breakfast, getting to make my own coffee and that sort of thing. It's gonna be a treat.
But there's a downside to that. How many people have been hitting you up for tickets? And you're like, I don't have tickets. Leave me alone.
Honestly, most people have been pretty good.
Okay.
I think at this point in the UFC, people have heard all the stories about how I can't get tickets or UFC athletes can't get tickets for them and blah, blah, blah. So I've had a couple of people hit me up, but not very many.
Love it. How do you see this fight unfolding on August 17th? How do you see this one going down?
I imagine we're both going to try knock each other's head off. So I'm going for the knockout. He's going to be going for the knockout, and it's going to be a much more exciting fight than the Mokaev Kape fight.
Yes, I would say so too, and that's obviously why you got the title shot to begin with over Mokaev before that. So we talked about obviously Mokaev being out of the UFC, and Kape didn't win that fight, so that kind of eliminates a contender in the weight class. I see they just announced, I don't know if you saw it, Brandon Royval is going to be fighting Tatsuro Taira, so that's maybe another contender fight. But do you feel like a win here, especially a finish, you might only be a couple fights away from getting another title opportunity just because there aren't a lot of contenders right now?
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I don't know who it would be. I think Amir Albazi after this one would be a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. I wanted to fight Brandon Royval, but he obviously got another fight, and I think the winner of that fight probably gets to fight for a title. So, we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. What do you think about the rumors of Askaura possibly fighting in your weight class, who came over from Ryzen? I know he's fought at bantamweight, but there's some rumors that he might be fighting in your division.
Yeah, if he wants to come to my division and find out who's tougher, well, I'll happily welcome him.
I like that. You didn't even hesitate. You're like, my division. It's cool. It just adds some more intrigue, right? Especially when you guys have, like obviously Mokaev's not back. I saw Nate Maness was also not re-signed. So we're going to see some new blood in your weight class, which I think is really interesting. Speaking of new, what did you think of Belal Muhammad winning the welterweight title last weekend? That was a big upset, I think, on the betting odds.
I thought he fought really well. He didn't show respect to Leon Edwards' striking. He sort of got in his face, landed some nice hands, and then went to the grappling and looked good there. I don't think, despite his claims, that he has Canelo-esque boxing, but it did look much improved.
To be fair, I think that was his coach saying that, but yes, I agree. We got to slow the brakes down a little bit. Did you see, by the way, this, speaking of Australian fighters, did you see him and Volkanovski go at it on Twitter today? Volkanovski I guess Belal was upset that Volkanovski in one of his videos said that he wasn't going to win, and Belal kind of fired back, and I don't know, did you see that? You're nodding your head, so I'm assuming you saw it?
Yeah, apparently, according to all the stuff I've read, that Volkanovski accidentally missed a call from Belal at some stage, and then he came back on Twitter and said that Max was going to whoop him and blah, blah. So he sounds a bit petty to me, and if that fight ever happens, I have full faith in Volkanovski. He's very good. He's super tough, and if anybody can do it, he can do it.
Two more quick ones. Just want to confirm you're not Bedtime MMA. I know you've been asked this before, but just again want to confirm right now you're not Bedtime MMA.
I'd like to plead the fifth on that one. Thank you.
There we go. I was going to say, you sound a little different than him. So I think that, maybe you're just using a different voice in this interview for us a little bit there. And just my last one, are you watching the Olympics right now? Obviously, they're going on in the summer in Paris. Are you catching any of the highlights? Or if you are, what are you watching?
Yeah, I haven't. It's on Stan over in Australia. I don't know what it's on in America and that sort of thing. But I don't have Stan at the moment, so I've been watching it on Channel 9. So I watched the women's basketball last night against Canada, and I've been watching a few things here and there and just trying to keep up. But I haven't watched the whole heap. I'm looking forward to the wrestling though. We got 2 Australians in the freestyle wrestling this year, so I'm very excited to see both of them compete.
By the way, I just realized I'm Canadian and we beat you in basketball. So glad we got through this interview without any hostility. I could see you being upset about that, right? So.
Yes, I didn't want to say anything, but.
Look at you. What a professional. I like this. We got to take more tips there. Hey, Steve, thanks so much for doing this. We're looking forward to the fight. It is UFC 305, August 17th. If there's anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, any sponsors, any social media you want to mention, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I just want to thank my team, really. So Wilkes Martial Arts, they're always backing me. And then, Rival Sport as well, my management team. They've done plenty to help me on this journey, and definitely wouldn't be here without them either. So